And we are live. I want to thank our live viewers. We are doing our regular Saturday broadcast of the Polite Society podcast. I want to go ahead and thank our advertisers. I want to, of course, that is ABN Army Surplus right here in Sioux Falls, as you can see, live viewers. Gary's sitting down, and you are going to do that to me. You're going to eat right here. And that smells so very good. All right. ABN Army Surplus, Concealment Solutions, Crusader Weaponry, New Jersey Second Amendment Society, and, of course, Firearms Safety Institute. We're going to be going with our interview first. We're going to be kicking off in just a second. And tonight's interview is Military Surplus. Our guests are Ken Kowalski and Filthy. You regular listeners of the show know that I listen to a lot of the Canadian podcasts, and he interacts with a lot of the Canadian podcasters. He's a Canadian himself. There's Ken. He just came into the call, so
yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, very good. We can hear you
and see you.
Hey.
So, all right. Let's go ahead and we ready to kick off the interview then?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Coming in 5. Hey, and welcome back. We're starting the interview segment with, we got 2 guests tonight for interview. First is Ken Kowalski. You all know Ken. He's been on the show several times. He is the man behind the Rimfire podcast and one of the 2 guys that does the Modern Rifleman radio show. And also we have Filthy. Now, Filthy, if you listen to any of the Canadian podcasts, you will hear him interact with them quite a bit, and he's interacted with us here a little bit. But let's see how we can do this introduction, Filthy. You are a clone trooper, or is it former clone trooper, retired clone trooper?
I am a semi-retired clone trooper, Paul.
Okay. And how is it you came to come here? Because aren't you from a galaxy far, far away?
Well, that's the Hollywood way of putting it, but it's just up the spiral arm a little bit.
Okay. All right. So, the reason that Filthy is here, and we're talking, and the reason Ken's here is we're talking military surplus. And so, I guess to get started with, and our regular listeners know that John is a collector of some military surplus firearms. I know that Rob has at least one military surplus firearm. I'm the kind of the solo guy out here that I don't have one. But to get started, let's, if we could, starting with our guests, let's, how do I put this? Of the military surplus firearms that you fired, that you've owned, which would you say is your favorite? We'll go ahead and start off with you, Filthy.
Oh, no question. It's the M1 Garand. It's what got me back into shooting after a 15-year break.
Not the carbine, the Garand.
The Garand, yeah.
Okay. So being our next guest then, Ken, what about you? Do you have much experience firing the surplus stuff? And if you have, what do you like? What have you fired that you really like?
I actually don't currently have anything right now. Just stuff's in transition. I've had a Garand. I've had several of the Mosin Nagants. One of my favorite pistols I've ever had was a CZ52, because that was quite the hand cannon. I'd have to say mine was the Garand too, although that was the one I had the shortest amount of time. Other than that, I'd say the CZ52 pistol was one of my more favorites because it kind of looked like a giant Bursa, but it was a real hand cannon.
What did that thing fire?
7.62 by 2.5, otherwise known as the Tokarev brand.
Oh, okay, sure.
Now you say you used to. Do you buy and sell, or what got you in? Paul asked you what got you in. What got you where you don't have a, supply of armament on your back wall?
Well, I just kind of ended up going with, right now I just have ARs and AKs pretty much, and modern pistols at the moment. I'm planning on getting back into some mil surplus stuff, but just at a transition point, I'd say.
Oh, okay.
I pretty much unloaded most of the other stuff, either, like at a time where I needed the extra cash. But then also I decided to just unload the Molson Nagants. They weren't really filling up. I really wasn't being a collector, and they really weren't filling the needs that I had, I guess I could say.
And as far as those Nagants, man, unless you're Arnold Schwarzenegger or you need to put your shoulder back into socket, I just don't have it. I'm not a fan of the Nagants. So.
Paul, can I chip in there or chime in?
Sure, absolutely.
A buddy gave me a 12 gauge to shoot. It had a solid stock, no recoil pad, and I was shooting it in a lightweight shirt. It beat the daylights out of me. And then somebody looked at it, and one of the older guys basically said, "You fool! Why don't you have a recoil pad on the butt of that?" And I went, "Because it's a borrowed gun." And then somebody, the next time I pulled out my Mosin Nagant that didn't have had that cinder block breaking solid steel butt on it, they said, "You fool! Why don't you have a recoil? This thing called rubber really makes it much more pleasant to shoot." And I know it was invented probably after the gun, but I'm willing to go modern up for something that was invented, the recoil pad that was invented 50 years ago.
Well, I have to question that because I never needed a recoil pad. Granted, I started shooting a 50 caliber muzzleloader, but I have never needed a recoil pad for anything. I shoot that Winchester 1897 I have, I'll slam fire it, and I don't need a recoil pad. It works fine.
Oh, it works fine. It's just I don't work so fine when I'm done.
Yeah, I just no. I don't want to make it out that I'm a wuss. I may be, but no. The Nagant is not exactly my favorite. Okay, so that's what and John, because I know you've got some military surplus stuff. I'm gonna kind of slip you in between co-host and interviewee. What do you like for military surplus? What's your favorite?
Well, I do have a Grand. I have a Springfield 1903, a bunch of Mausers, but my favorite really is the M1 carbine, and it's made by IBM. Yes, that IBM.
You're kidding me.
No, the original IBM PC. Personal carbine.
Okay.
No, it was really made by the IBM during World War II.
International Business Machine, really?
Yeah.
Wow. I never knew that.
That's a business machine.
Yeah, you're going to take care of a lot of business with it, I guess. Sure, certainly.
I remember I had a real good friend from high school who had one, and we had a lot of fun with it. And I eventually got one 10, 15, maybe closer to 20 years ago. And I just love it. I mean, virtually no recoil. I mean, I think it would be an ideal home defense weapon for most women.
Now, I'd always thought of for a home defense for a lady. I'd thought one of two thoughts: either a short 20 gauge or honestly an AR, because they have very little recoil.
What I would say is the difference is that you're, instead of using 55 or 62 grain, you're using 110 grain.
Yeah.
And it's short, it's easy, it's shorter, lighter, and I think more agile in its own way than an AR.
Okay.
So.
Very cool. Well then, so the next question would be then supplies of now the Russian stuff. Of course, that's its own thing because of our illustrious president shutting down imports. So ammo and that for the Russian stuff can become kind of scarce, as well as the AKs. Now, let me ask this then: the AKs, they're semi-auto, they're not fully auto. Would you guys consider an AK as military surplus, or have they been modified enough that they don't fit that classification anymore?
I think it would depend on its origin, wouldn't it?
I wouldn't consider a mil surplus, just because most of them, the ones that were coming into the country that were like brand new, actually like not torn apart, were the Saiagas and the Vepers, which were brand new manufacturers. So, and they never saw military service, so they don't really fit the bill. Most of the other stuff came into the country so reconfigured and then reconfigured again, going back to like to looking more like an AK. Some of that stuff, I don't know, maybe borderline. Some like the older Romanian stuff. Some of the Hungarian stuff when it still came in, but not quite the same.
I'm with Ken on this. I think if you were talking about SKSs, yeah, they would be mil-cert. But AKs, I mean, you're not getting the full auto, so it's really not the same.
Yeah, because
it looks the same, but it's not the same.
The AK was always designed from the beginning to be full auto, right?
Correct.
There never has been a military issue semi-auto of the AK.
No, not that I know of.
Commercial, yes. Military, no.
Okay. All right. So, like I said, I went through it. My least favorite of the things that I've shot for military surplus is the oh my God, I have a brain fart. Mosin Nagant. Are there any? And I may be being blasphemous here because, and we'll get to that a little bit more about blasphemy later. But when I bring up what I did with 1911s on Facebook, but is there any of them that you folks have shot that you just, if I never see another one, it'll be a minute too late?
Nope.
No, I mean I'm not a big fan of Mosins, and actually sold one of my Mosins to Rob. Mainly because even though the ones I had were actually Finnish and not Russian, so were actually made a little better compared to a Mauser, or compared to a Springfield 1903 or Eddystone or an Enfield. I just find them kind of rough, coarse.
Russian?
Exactly.
Now, John, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but weren't the Finnish Mosins actually Russian built and then captured by the Finns and then reactioned into a Finnish version?
The ones I have, some may have been the ones I have. At least the actions were made by Seiko and Valmet, and I'm not sure who the third one was, so I can't swear to it. But mine were M39s. Model 39s.
Finland had a very mixed arsenal, and they said, we can't afford to get as many as we need of the state of the art, but we can at least normalize our arsenal, and they went with a modification of the Mosin Nagant. Yeah, they sold more modern arms, so their army was uniformly equipped.
I think that was the case for most of World War II. Since they had been designing newer guns, they used what they had in World War I because that's what they had availability of.
Yeah, it's great to know there's better, but you got to fight with what you can get.
Okay, cool. Well, we're coming up on break here, so let's go ahead and step aside. We'll do one more segment, and we'll be right back right after this. Okay, and with the way I'm doing it now, we can actually just fly right away. I don't have to save it; it automatically saves. So,
Somebody's breathing into their mic.
nobody here.
Didn't say who or where.
Okay. All right.
My helmet
I'd
must
really
be pushing my mic too close to my mouth.
yeah. I'd really like to get one more segment out of this. Let me think. What should we?
You could ask about what's coming in nowadays.
Yes.
Or can you obtain?
Yes, I
Or
like
how about
that.
what gun we'd like to have that we can't get.
Oh yeah.
Oh, let me lead in with that. Okay, coming back in 5. Here we go. 5. Hey, and welcome back. We are on a second segment of military surplus. Next question that came up, we were kind of discussing over the break here, and I'm really kind of curious to this. I'll offer up mine first. I'm going to tease a little bit with this one. The one military surplus that I'd love to get my hands on that I just can't is the X-15 blaster. Filthy, you know where I could get one of those?
Operational security, I can't tell you.
But seriously, to go to the serious question, Filthy, for those that don't know, is up in Canada, and there's different. You can get different things there than you can get here. What would everybody like to get their hands on if they could that they can't now?
I'd like to get, and we can own in Canada, but I just can't afford to buy one, as an M1941 Johnson rifle. They're U.S. made during World War II. There weren't a lot of them made, and they're hard to get. I almost got one, slipped out of my hands.
What's special about it? I'm not familiar with it.
Oh, it's cool.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm ignorant of another cool thing that I can't afford. Tell me about it.
It's got a 10-shot internal rotary mag.
Oh,
It's got a metal handguard on top that looks really cool. 3006, just like the M1 Grand.
Ooh.
I believe a U.S. Marine Airborne unit used it in the Pacific, and I think that might be the only unit that used it.
I think you might be right.
The Dutch had it in 7mm as well, I believe.
For some reason, I thought there were some that were made that might have even been belt fed. I could be wrong on that, but the Johnson's real cool.
Now, okay, this a belt-fed semi-auto.
No, I think it
They
could.
made an LMG. The same company.
Okay, that's.
And it had a side feed, curved mag, and I think it was single stack, so it was really long and awkward.
I was going to say, you said it was a 10 round internal.
Yeah.
How did you load it?
down the top.
There was a side port on it, and you could feed it through stripper clips, five round stripper clips. I think Springfield ones.
I'll be darned.
Okay. Anybody else have one that they'd like to get a hold of that they either can't afford or just can't get?
I don't know about can't get, but I'm planning on kicking up a Enfield collection when I can start, and probably the one in that I won't be able to afford is the and I forget the exact designation, but it's the Enfield Sniper. I think it goes for around $4,000.
Speaking of Enfields, a few years ago, I should have bought it when I woulda, coulda, shoulda. I should have bought this one. There was a dealer actually in upstate New York who was well known for getting milsurps in, and he had some that were marked FF for Fianna Foil. They were made for the Irish Free State.
Oh,
and I would, given that I have great grandparents born in Ireland, I thought that would have been kind of cool to have, just from a personal history type thing. I don't even know where you would find one now.
Yeah.
In this group, does anyone have a Thompson sub?
Held one, never fired one. Don't
I
own
have a
it.
friend that has one.
Yeah, that's mine. They're available. Can't afford it because I can't justify in my head buying something that I know I only want to look at.
Well, and you got that little thing called a tax stamp,
Yeah.
and the government climbing down your throat. But
Yeah.
Well, but aren't we talking, what, 15K and up for a...
Yes. It's strictly
Probably
the
20 and up now.
Yow.
if it was my primary self-defense weapon, well then you kind of look at price a little different. If you look at it and say, boy, that would look really pretty on my wall even if I couldn't shoot it. I'm pretty positive there's a whole bunch of things my wife could come up with before I could convince her to spend $15,000 on a submachine gun.
Yeah, I can come up with a lot of pretty items for less than 20K.
If
Right.
I had my choice, I think it was one that I shot at a blogger shoot once. It was a Smith & Wesson 76, which was the U.S.-made clone of the Swedish K gun, which was both were used in Vietnam by the SOG Special Observation Group when they were doing stuff in Laos and along the Ho Chi Minh Trail and all. It's just a 9mm full auto. Yes, it's an NFA, but it's kind of rough. But I just liked it. I don't know, and it's actually probably affordable. I mean, under $5,000 plus tax stamp.
a 9mm full auto. That sounds interesting.
That'll leave a mark.
I do.
No, it didn't have bad recoil at all. The other one I shot was the MP40. Otherwise, we always call it the Schmeiser.
Mhm.
That was a nice piece of work. 9mm.
9 by what, John?
9mm Luger.
Oh, so it's a
Pistol
subgun.
caliber. Yeah, subgun.
Submachine gun. I'm sorry.
Yeah, not 9mm by whatever.
By 60, oh my God.
No.
That would leave a mark.
On
Yes.
my shoulder.
All right. So I mean, so why don't we just go? Hang on just a second. Make an edit point here. I'm kind of running out of questions. I didn't prepare enough. I'm sorry, guys. What?
Look, I've got one.
What weapons are coming in now?
Oh, that's right. We got what weapons are coming in, and Rob, what else?
Well, I was going to say these days you can buy bolt guns that shoot out of the box better than custom guns used to 15 years ago.
Yes.
What would be the equivalent? This gun out of the box was equally revolutionary for its day as far as the level of accuracy it provided.
Okay.
Because we're standing on the shoulders of giants, and who to name their shoulders? I don't understand how we got where we are.
Okay. Let's. Here we go. Coming back in 5 again. Well, so the next question would be then. Let's go ahead and go back to what can you get now? What is available out there? And well, for actually, we should again. We should make that what's available for a reasonable price.
Well, at the local Canadian Tire, you can get a Russian SKS for $200, and they have SVTs, but I didn't check the price. I think it was around $3. That's not bad.
Yeah, that's not horrible.
And
It's
the
not.
SKS shoots what? What's the cartridge for the SKS?
Oh, that's 7.62 by 39. And
Oh,
you can
okay.
get that- You can get that up here relatively cheap too, and
Yep.
it's plentiful.
Okay.
And
And
the
I don't.
SVT.
Go ahead, Ken. I'm sorry, Ken.
I was going to throw in there, and the SVT being sort of its bigger, the SKS's bigger brother, being in 7.62 by 5.4R. So you've got a semi-auto, thing that shoots the same as the most in the gun, the same round.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think you find one for 300 in the U.S.
No, I don't think so. Aren't those going for closer to around $1,000?
That's what I think. Yeah.
Wow.
Now, if you wanted to find something that shot really accurately for a reasonable price, I would say right now a Schmidt-Rubin K31, or go even back to the Swiss 1911, the 31 inchers that are going to be close to minute of angle
Right.
for $300.
I've heard that even the surplus ammo in that is really hard to beat. Most people can't even reload to a point where they can beat the surplus ammo.
That's what I've heard too. I mean, it's match grade, and it's not cheap, but it's not that expensive.
Oh, Rob, you we were on break. You had a question you were thinking about.
I do. Someone says we're living in the best of times for firearms, and this is what convinced me they're absolutely right. We can walk into a store, buy out of the box a bolt-action rifle that will shoot with accuracy that equals or surpasses some of the best guns a custom builder would make for you only 15 years ago. You know, just like, you know, the PC you have right now is the supercomputer of 10 years ago. Well, we're in the same situation for guns, particularly for accuracy, and I'm wondering, what were the revolutionary firearms of the surplus or antique era? We stand on, you know, every bit of progress that we have was built on something else. What guns got us where we are today?
Mauser.
Mauser?
Mauser 93, 96, 98. We still use essentially a Mauser bolt. The U.S. actually had to pay royalties to Mauser for the Springfield 1903.
Until World War One.
Until World War One, yeah. Mauser more than anything else I can think of in terms of bolt guns.
Would you say the Grand would be for the semis?
Say again?
I was wondering if people would think the Grand would be the innovative one for semis. It was the first semi-automatic rifle issued to an army in that scale.
You know, had they not dumbed it down and I mean, it was designed with a box magazine, and then they took it out so that, quote, soldiers wouldn't fire so fast. You know, except for that, I would absolutely agree.
I think it was revolutionary, but in some senses, it was a line that was a little bit of a dead end in that it only went to the M14. Although we've got our Mini 14s, Mini 30s that kind of grew out of those. Those went to police forces, not to any military units. Although we still use the M14 today. And in fact, I've shot that rifle while in a foreign country during war. So
sure,
I would say that the Sturmgewehr 44, which was the predecessor, is essentially to the AKs, to the SETME, the HK G3s. I mean, it was the predecessor. Rather than everything being forged, you could use stamped and still get respectable accuracy. And, you know, Kalashnikov, you know, supposedly, you know, came from scratch, but I think he pretty much copied the STG 44 Sturmgewehr.
Mm-hmm.
Was that actually a piston gun or a direct impingement?
not direct impingement. It's got to be a piston gun.
I think it's piston.
That would explain why so many guns anymore are all top-mounted for their gas system instead of lower-mounted. I've seen some, but very rarely, which seems very foolish. Because you would get more room, well, you would have less differential between the sights and the barrel if you put the gas system below the barrel, but the Sturmgewehr went above the barrel for the gas system.
And it's all Greek to me. All right, well, let's. We're coming up on break here again, so I want to thank you guys for joining us and talking the military surplus, and we're coming up on break, so we'll be right back right after this. That did fill 2 segments, so very cool.
Cool.
This is where the piston is, so you have raised sights over
Oh,
the
okay.
barrel axis.
Okay.
So you have a higher differential at close and long distance.
Yeah, that makes sense. Ken and Philpy, if you want, you can boogie, you can stay. It's totally up to you.
I should probably go just because I can hear that party starting to ramp up out there, and not that I'm eager to join it, but I think it's going to join me in here if I don't go out there. You know what I mean?
Well, I totally understand, and seriously, man, thank you for coming. Thank you.
Oh, it
Thank
was
you for
fun.
coming on
I
the show.
enjoyed it.
So.
Just remember, the Empire rocks.
yeah.
There's a YouTube video right there. I just can't. I got to find the music for you.
I probably have it on my phone.
Good on you.
Join the dark side. We have better perks.
And the cookies.
Cool. I'll tick off too.
Okay. Well, thanks again, gentlemen, and
Be a little Death Star.
we'll probably do it again. I would like to do another. It's been what, 6 months since we done one. Maybe not quite so long, and I definitely will be better prepared before we do it again. So.
Wilkesville 7.6.
All right. Good night, guys.
Good night.
Take care.
Night, sir.
Take
Night.
care, Ken.
All right. Let's see. I gotta get my show notes where I can read them.
I tossed a picture of the Johnson rifle in for you.
That looks good.
I think it was like Marine Airborne Raiders use those.
So that's their version of the BAR, huh?
No, it was their version of the Grand.
Oh,
Because
all right. Gotcha. Yes.
In the early days, especially at Guadalcanal, the Marines used Springfield 1903s.
Ouch.
Okay.
And they weren't too keen on switching to the Grands because, Marines, they didn't think it would shoot as accurately.
Can we do this? Because Shelly's going to be... Shelly, I had Shelly come in just so we could do a fast interview about the kicking off of the food drive and the range day coming up in 2 weeks. Can we interview her fast?
Sure.
And then get into the open?
I'm going at 5:25.
Okay.
So, sure.
All right. You want to give me a fast mic check, Shelly?
Mic check.
You guys can hear her out there?
Yep.
Okay. This should only take about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Hey, and welcome back. We're with Shelly again. Shelly Sorensen. She's with the Great Plains Second Amendment Society. Shelly, I wanted to have you on today because you kicked off something pretty cool today. Why don't you tell the listeners about that?
This morning we get to drop off the barrels for our food drive. We dropped them off at 3 locations in Sioux Falls.
I suppose we should go right off the start. Where can, if somebody is listening and they're in Sioux Falls, where can they go to donate?
All right, so the first one is at Sunshine on Second Avenue?
Mm-hmm.
Second Avenue. Fairway Foods on 41st Street.
Mm-hmm.
And then also right here at ABN. And Gary has actually also said that if you donate here at ABN, he'll add a 10% discount to any purchase of $50 or more.
Wow, that's cool. That's cool. So this is something, when you brought it up to me, I thought we should just jump all over it because this is something where we can show that the gun community really does care and participates in the community in general.
Yeah, I think some of the people were actually shocked when we called and said where we were coming from. So, but they jumped on board right away.
Very cool. Now I'll ask you off air because I wanted.
Okay.
The other thing we wanted to talk about real fast is coming up 2 weeks from today. We're going to be having the Family Range Day, and this is the one that gets me every time I hear it. and potluck.
Yes, we wanted to. Well, I love food, so when everybody loves food, so if there's gonna be food there too, it's hard to decide what everybody's gonna want, and we figured that we should have something. So we're just gonna be like a family, and everybody brings something.
Sure. Now we've been advertising that and pushing that on Facebook for a little bit. Sounds like we're starting to get some good responses. That there's going to be a decent turnout.
Yeah, I think we have a pretty good group, and we have about half, like 14 maybe. So if they come too, we can have close to 30 to 50 people.
Awesome. And then for this Family Range Day, the range is Beersford.
Beersford, yes.
Okay. And now the range fees, I mean, it is insanely cheap for this thing.
Yes.
It's what, $5 per adult, right?
$5 per adult, and your children are welcome there as well. At 18 and under is free, with a paid adult.
Awesome.
So you can come down, eat some food, shoot some guns.
There you go. There you go. I know I'm going to be there, and Shelley, of course, and then Matt, our frequent guest that travels up to speak with us, is going to be there as well. So
yeah, he's bringing the fun stuff.
Yeah.
Well, at least as fun as you can get in semi-auto.
Well.
There you go. You're not bringing up the stuff you need tax stamps for?
I don't have any yet.
Yet. Okay. All right. Well, we just want to let everybody know about that. Thanks again for Shelley for joining us, and we'll have you back when we complete Range Day. You can tell us how it went.
Sounds good.
Oh, I was wrong. I thought 5. It was 3 minutes, 20 seconds.
We talk fast.
All right. Okay.
We can ask me out there.
Oh, who was shocked? Who was the ones that were surprised? Was it the food bank or was it?
Well, you did most of the talking, but I don't think anybody expects to hear from us.
Right.
And so I think that's why the food bank wanted to see the flyer first to make sure we weren't going to be shoving anything in anybody's face.
Right.
So to speak. So.
Which Sue did great on those.
She did amazing on those.
Yeah.
They are amazing.
I've got the website updated, so
okay.
GP2AS is updated, and we need to get you trained on WordPress. So.
Real quick, just because you guys were talking about the Nagants earlier, Brian bought one.
Oh, really?
Shot it for the first time. I had to take one of Jasmine's jackets, fold it up, and put it up here. So I looked like an idiot.
All right.
54.
Should we knock this intro out then?
Should we get Minion?
Yep.
Same as a 30-06.
He got a bruise from it.
Okay. Let's go ahead because we're coming up. We got 20 minutes left of Rob, so I think it's just Rob and John and me in the intro. So let's go ahead and knock this out real fast. Come back in 5.
Who's going to... So no Gary?
Oh, Gary. Yo, wait. Gary, can you see show notes? Gary, can you see show notes?
It's either he's in or he's not. Do we know?
Yeah, he's trying to pull up show notes right now.
Well, I'm in. So.
Yeah, he's in. He's good.
See you in 2 weeks.
See ya.
Okay, are we ready?
Yes.
All right, here we go. Coming back in 5.
Yes.
Hi, and welcome to the Polite Society Podcast, recorded live Saturday, August 9th, 2014. I'm Paul Lathrop.
I'm John Richardson, and we'll talk with Ken Kowalski of Rimfire Podcast.
I'm Rob Morse, and we have a talk with Filthy about military surplus rifles.
Hey, and I'm Gary Harpster. We have our regular news and DGUs, so climb aboard.
Strap in.
And hang on.
Episode 259 of the Polite Society Podcast starts right now. I don't have show intro music because I'm using the tablet to read show notes. Okay, personal news segment. I'm gonna go with you first, Rob, just so we don't miss you.
I don't have 20 minutes of personal news. You won't miss me.
Yeah, but the rest of us, if we go long in this segment.
All right, you're going to tell us about your dogs. This could take hours.
All right, here we go. Actually, you know what, Rob? Bring us back, man. She says, I want you to go first.
Okay, here's 5. Hi, and welcome back. This is our personal news segment of the Polite Society podcast. I took one of my new students to several ranges so she could see really what's out there for sport training. I'd introduced her to handguns, taken her to an indoor range, but you don't get to shoot from concealment at most of those ranges. Today she saw a steel shoot, IPSC, USPSA, and an IDPA match. Well, to new shooters, some of those were a little baffling. It was amazing as she walked down the between the different bays. She's a nice-looking young lady and was invited to join, I think, in each sport, so she should feel welcome. This evening, I have to leave the show a little early for another private training class.
Awesome. Yeah, and a good reason for bailing out on the show.
We're going to introduce about 20 people. This was called an ATF gathering. It's a sort of a boutique event. We're going to take them shooting. Then they're going to go to a place outdoors where they can have smoke cigars and have some drinks.
Oh, wonderful.
You know, they always said that the BATFE ought to be a heck of a party. Well, we're trying to do that.
I like it. I
You're missing
love
the
that.
E, though.
That's a cute idea.
You know, you got to start somewhere.
Shoot off some fireworks.
No, it's California. We burned down the state, but.
That's right. Do they even trust you with sparklers anymore?
Outdoors, it's so dry. I don't think they should trust us with a magnifying glass.
That's true. That's true. Well, next on my list of faces is Gary Harpster. Gary, what's been up with you, man?
Well, from a retailer's point of view in this business, I do have a couple of interesting things to let folks know about. SHOT Show, which we all attend.
Right.
There's going to be some interesting announcements that I am not at liberty to share. One of those things where you kind of, as a retailer, you go to sort of get a heads up that we're going to announce this at SHOT Show, but please don't preempt us type thing.
Yeah.
So you're going to have some new interesting clothes items and some new interesting footwear items.
Mm-hmm.
Some changes in that industry that I think when you get done doing your interviews at SHOT Show are going to be very interesting. So 2015 is, from a retailer's point of view, looking very interesting because we're going to be able to get some processes going.
Mm-hmm.
This week we had a chance to talk with TrueSpec, which most folks will be familiar with, Lanco 5-star gear, as to some of the things that they've got coming. And we were able to put together a contract with them. So we're going to be able to provide product to police departments, fire departments, county sheriff's departments throughout the entire upper region. One of the things that's always fun as a retailer is when one of your wholesalers comes along with a package and says, if you do this for us, we'll do this for you, kind of thing. And they're going to allow us to put an entire test uniform into any department that's got more than 15 people throughout all of Nebraska, all of Iowa, Minnesota, North, South Dakota, eastern Wyoming, and western Wisconsin. So any one of my customers and or new customers with a police department, and probably won't be Minneapolis, St. Paul, because they're pretty well handled by locals there, but all the small communities in North Dakota and South Dakota, Nebraska, we can actually put test uniforms in at no cost to them.
Oh, cool.
So they'll get a chance to actually use some of that new tactical gear that TrueSpec has developed. Most of the people in the industry know, you guys probably all wear either 511 pants or Proper or TrueSpec. They're the three biggies when it comes to tactical gear. So a lot of new and interesting things that way. From the retail business, it's been a busy week of new and interesting ideas. So it's been a lot of fun.
Cool.
That's it.
Cool. Well, John, then what's been up in your world since the last time we were on the air?
Well, I had actually planned to go to the range today to sight in a couple of rifles, However, we had tons of rain, probably as much rain as Rob gets in about half a year. In other words, 2 to 3 inches. And I'm sure there are places in California that would kill for this rain right now, and we would love to give it to them.
Yeah, I was just out in the desert today, John. Pretty dry out there.
You know, it's sad that even South Dakota this week, we had several places in South Dakota had 2 to 3 inches of rain, and we really don't need any more spring rain. We've got.
No.
You can have ours as well, Rob. We don't need it either.
Okay. Well, next on my hit parade here is Matt, our frequent. I say he's our frequent listener guest that comes up, but now we can't say that anymore because Matt's got his own show, and you're on episode 3 now, right?
Yep, 3 posted this morning. It's the Mad Hatter's Caliber Party.
Okay.
That's the name of your show?
No, that's the name of the episode.
What is the name of your show?
It's Geeks, Gadgets, and Guns.
Very cool. Very cool. I've listened to the first 2. I didn't get a chance to listen to the number 3 yet, but I like the show. It's a cool thing. I myself am very much into the gadgetry. You could easily say I'm a geek, and of course, you know, I like the guns, so I'll be listening quite a bit. So anything else been going on with you other than busy getting the show up and getting it out?
Well, 3 weeks ago I took the German foreign exchange student staying with my parents out shooting for the first time.
Cool.
Unfortunately, it was only an indoor range, so it wasn't, hey, this is steel, it's punching holes in paper, but she actually really enjoyed it. Probably her favorite was 6-inch 357 shooting 38 specials.
Oh, there you go. Nice light shooting, yeah.
Yeah, that or 9mm. She also did love a 1911, but it's kind of interesting to see somebody who's never handled a gun before and think you're kind of crazy, and then they get out there and, I get it now.
Okay. All right, cool. As for me, the only thing not a whole lot with guns. I've been just doing my dry practice, and I've been working on doing some things for the food drive we got set up that folks will hear about in a little bit. But and this morning I kind of stirred things up on Facebook a little bit. I went to the show page and posted my personal opinion that the 1911 was an awesome jump in technology and a wonderful gun when it was introduced in 1911. And technology has advanced enough, and there have been enough advances that it's just not I don't like it for personal defense for me. I don't even know if I worded it that way, but that was what my intent was. I couldn't use a 1911 for personal defense, and that in 100 years we've made a lot of progress. It's time to show the progress in what you use to defend yourself with. And some people didn't agree with me.
Imagine that.
So I've been having a little.
For a concealed carry weapon, I'd absolutely agree with you. But does any modern weapon have a trigger that's as good as the 1911s, even out of the box before they go to a custom shop?
For the single action double act, yeah, I don't like the initial trigger pull on a 1911.
Now you've got something to argue about. Cool line.
The follow-up. I mean, if you're starting with hammer down, then I do not like it. But if you're starting from cocked and locked, yeah, it's a beautiful trigger pull. I can't argue with that. However, the ammo supply is extremely limited for what is honestly, if you look at ballistics, not that much better of a round, if not exactly the same round as 40 or 9mm plus P+. And you get 7 rounds in a 1911 plus 1 in the chamber. I double that plus in a 40 caliber, and you can nearly triple it in a 9mm.
Well, you can get a 1911 in a 40 caliber,
You can. can, and you can get them in 9mm, but the reliability just isn't there. They were designed as 45 autos. Or, well, all semi-autos, but anyway, that's now I'm starting to get the feedback here that yeah, okay. Anyway, that's what's going on with us. Let's go ahead and step aside, and we've got news when we come back right after this. All right, cool. We are gonna blow past the 25 after, Rob. So
Yeah, I'll just write me out. It's been great. See ya.
yeah, you can hang around and comment if you want and jump out, or
No, I'm gonna run now. I stink. I have to shower before I go.
okay. And we'll talk to you next Saturday.
Oh, yeah. I plan to be there Wednesday. I have a special guest I'm not even going to tell you about because once I confirm it, you'll find a way to stop the truck, I bet. But it's a maybe.
Oh, okay. All right, cool.
Take care.
All right, see you, man.
Rob?
Yeah, Paul, as far as I know, the original 1911 was single action only.
Yeah.
Not a single double.
Okay.
There were mods made in the 70s where there were ones with a single double, but it's single only.
Okay. Well, the one I've only shot one, and I did not like it at the time, and I've had enough experience with enough guns of different varieties to know that almost every other gun I've ever shot I like better than the 1911.
You can give mine a whirl in 2 weeks.
Okay.
It's not the best, but it's not the worst. It's fun.
All right. So how do we want to do the news?
Is Matt going to help us, or?
Yeah, I can definitely help out.
And then Gary, are you gonna? Do you want to just comment? Do you want to read stories? How do you want to do it?
Comment. That way I can go in and out.
Okay. So where it says Rob, you want to just take it, Matt?
Yeah, I can do that.
You don't have me down for any at this moment anyway, do you?
I don't know, do we? I can't type. I can't type in the notes.
Oh.
No, we don't.
Okay. Are we below this graphic?
Yeah, it says
Above
NRA
and
News
below.
Official.
Yeah.
We're a little above and
Okay.
then below.
There we go. I got it.
Okay, are we ready?
I'm ready.
Here we go. Hey, and welcome back to the news segment. Tonight's first story, actually, they gave to me, and that's starting off with, you might remember that principal man of the people, Colorado Governor John Hickenlooper, the governor made another unplanned confession on video. It turns out that the Colorado sheriffs often earn less than their deputies. Well, that's because there's separate pay scales for hourly employees and for elected officers. Hickenlooper said he agreed the pay gap was a problem. He also said his hands were tied because his big donors, his bundlers, told him not to touch the issue in an election year. That proves that the campaign money talks in Colorado, and voters get lip service from Governor Hickenlooper.
Or as my friend Michael Bain would call him, Hickenstupid.
There you go.
Governor, Hickenlooper said he was for the right of self-defense before he was against it.
Yeah, there's a lot of politicians like that, but he is certainly one of the top ones for that. Whatever way the wind blows, the money coming at him is what way he's going to go.
And I think you're right.
Again, I'm not sure that most politicians aren't exactly that way. Sadly.
Depending on, I think there are some, but I think a lot of them are that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, even on the gun rights issue, I wouldn't object to any congressman or senator or something. Let's say they're for gun control. 6 or 8 years or 10 years later, because I'd like to see term limits. So let's say they say, you know what? I think I've learned some things along the way, and I have changed my mind. You know, there's nothing wrong with a guy changing his mind. There's nothing wrong with a guy admitting that he made a mistake or that he was in error about what he was thinking or how he voted before. And oftentimes we have a tendency to lambaste our politicians for things they say before and after an election. But we have yet to see somebody come up and just be honest about it. Where senators say, okay, I'm in my second 6 years now, and I was for Second Amendment rights. Now I'm against them. I've changed my mind. Here's why. I honestly have changed my mind about this issue. I'm not just getting into the fundraising thing. Here's the reason why. It would just be nice, regardless of the side of the issue, to see a congressman just on occasion, instead of doing that flip-flop with no reason other than it's pretty obvious it was politics, you know, for a guy on birth control, if he wants to stand up and say, you know, I thought this way once when I was 22, I'm 44, I've changed my mind. We just never see that.
Yeah, well, and I think the reason you don't see it is because of the party politics, is because of, you know, you need to get your party support, and if the party is one way, you better be that way.
Yeah.
Though, and I'm going to honestly say that the Republicans are more forgiving than the Democrats are for it, because look at all the Tea Party members that came in.
True enough, but characteristically, even under George Bush, we had the same situation we have now under Obama, where, you know, the Democratic Party says, you know, get behind the president. You got to get behind the president, regardless of what the president's doing. You got to get behind because he's our guy. They did the same thing under Bush a lot too. You know, get behind even if you don't agree with it. I almost wish there was a way in this country to say, when you get elected to office, you had 1 term or 2 terms. And to say, now you're not in either party. You know, like, wipe the slate clean, and whatever you think you ought to do when you get there is what you ought to do, regardless of leaning.
I think term limits are the best. You know, just you get 2 terms and you're done.
Yeah. Well, without them, we're never going to get out of this mess, friend. Never.
Well, let's go ahead and move on to the next story. There was a recent conference in Washington, D.C. discussing concealed carry on campus. The bad news is that many campus administrators opposed armed self-defense. The good news is that we don't have to speculate on how young armed men and women behave. The administrators have fears while we have data. There has been no reported problems with permit holders in the 9 states that allow permitted concealed handguns on campuses. Those states are Colorado, Florida, Idaho, Kansas, Mississippi, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Utah, and Wisconsin. In addition, Michigan and Texas provide data on permit revocations based on the permit holder's age. Experience shows that college-age permit holders are as responsible or even more responsible than older permit holders.
And here's some perspective on that data from Florida and Texas. The rate of all crimes committed by police is about 6 times higher than the rate for concealed carry holders in Texas. And the rate is 10 times higher than for license holders in Florida. Much of the gun control debate focuses on things that might possibly go wrong. Thanks to the work of Dr. John Lott at the Crime Prevention Research Center, now we know.
Interesting to see Wisconsin on that list too. I wouldn't have figured that if I'd have been a betting man.
Well, and one thing that coming from this, we'd be statistically better off to just arm all the college students and kick the police off campus.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's a good, excellent point.
You said that Florida CCL holders are safer than Texas license holders when compared to the police. I looked at the data, and I can hear Rachel tell us that CCL holders from Texas are much safer than those from Michigan. Go Texas.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Now, these campus administrators think they are a law unto themselves. Boise State University in Idaho has a policy asking students and faculty to call 911 if they see a gun on campus, even if the firearm is legally carried. Parrish Miller, a policy analyst for the Idaho Freedom Foundation, said, "This is such an outrageous policy. We wouldn't accept this at any other place in our society. Miller is concerned about the school's insistence that students or faculty who see an exposed firearm should call the police, who will then check if the weapon carrier holds the proper license.
I guess the school wants us to call on the location of all the police on campus, including those that might be taking criminal justice classes. Yeah, sometimes, campus cops wander off to the donut shop and get lost.
Yeah. Well, and again, going back to, and that's just we've known it for a long time, but to see the actual numbers in that graphic, and by the way, listeners, go check the graphic on the show notes. That we are far safer than police are, meaning concealed carry permit holders. That just wow. So next story, then. This is a story about Maryland's war on women. It is easier for a Maryland business owner to get a concealed carry license because he carries cash than for a woman to receive a license because she may be attacked by an ex-lover. More Maryland women have recently applied for state permission to own a handgun, but they are seldom allowed to carry for defense of themselves or their family.
That is just bigotry against women and gun owners.
Absolutely, and if you look at not only Maryland, but you look at what's going on in Pennsylvania, going on in New Jersey with Shaneen Allen, it's again bigotry against women and gun owners.
Almost certainly. Oh, by the way, before we go off, since you mentioned Shaneen Allen, I posted to Facebook a request for people to help fund her defense fund. She has Evan Knappen as her lawyer, and she had, I think it was a GoFundMe or something. They were looking for $25,000 for her defense. As of this morning, they'd blown that out of the water with 100 days left in the program. They had over $27,000 just in the first, I think, week and a half.
That is great news.
Wow.
Yeah. Because hopefully she gets totally exonerated.
Absolutely.
Well, hopefully that the district attorney just writes it off. At this point, he's better off just letting her go quietly about 2 o'clock in the morning, taking a week's vacation, and hoping the whole thing just goes away.
Yeah, it's received so much attention now. His best move is, just drop charges and
and be quiet. And then just go away, go fishing for about 4 or 5 days, let the news cycle, get out of there and get on to something else more important, and he's better off if people just forget about it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it is New Jersey, and we can't count on that actually happening.
That's true.
Speaking of an adjacent state, it looks like former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg is going after any pro-gun politician he can find. Bloomberg's Anti-Gun Political Action Committee just bought $150,000 in ads to target outspoken gun rights activist Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clarke. In response to the news of Bloomberg's ads, Clarke said in a statement, "I trust the voters can't be bought." The ad buys by Bloomberg's PAC come on top of 400,000 in media ads purchased by the Greater Wisconsin Committee to try to beat Clarke, who is in his fourth term for his fourth term in this coming Tuesday's Democratic primary election. Wisconsin gun owners, Sheriff Clarke needs your help.
Well, now, you don't need to be a Wisconsin resident to help out Sheriff Clarke. Plus, it goes to show that it isn't just Republicans who care about gun rights. And, for a sheriff election we're looking at what, between Bloomberg and the rest of the Greater Wisconsin Committee, over $550,000, $550,000 in ad buys for a sheriff's position.
That's what I was going to say too. How can you waste that much money on a sheriff's position? There's 60, 70 counties in the state. Holy crap! What you could do with $5. I'll bet he doesn't spend $50,000 on his re-election campaign.
No, and I bet you he wins.
Oh yeah, I would agree too. Yeah,
but he does need help. There's a link in the show notes. If you can help him out, there's a link in the show notes, and if you're so inclined.
And that's Tuesday. So obviously the local Democratic Party must have chosen somebody else to run against him if it's the primary election.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be darned. That seems like a waste of time and a waste of money.
Yeah. Well, you know, I dislike noisy neighbors as much as the next person, so this is good news. Hunters in Florida may soon be able to shoot without waking the dead in several adjacent states. A proposal from the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission would allow hunters to legally use mufflers on their firearms, we call them suppressors or silencers, when they hunt deer, turkey, gray squirrels, rabbits, quail, and crows. Supporters say that they can protect hunters' hearings and irritation to neighbors. Opponents say, we must muffle our vehicles so we don't bother people, but muffled firearms are a danger to everyone because we won't be deafened by them. The proposal will be considered during the Commission's meeting in September.
You know, firearm mufflers or suppressors are required in several countries and outlawed by a lot of states in the U.S.
Well, they're outlawed for hunting in a lot of states. They're actually legal to possess in 46 states.
Right, but you cannot, you know, and it's just silly. I mean, honestly, it's silly to have them, to even buy the tax stamp for them. Noise suppressor for your handgun or your rifle, or honestly, they've got suppressors now for shotguns. I got an email from somebody that wanted me to plug their. I haven't looked at it yet, but they got a suppressor now. They say it works really well with a 12 gauge shotgun. But he's just responsible, except for the federal government thinks that because of some movies that anytime you put a suppressor on any firearm, it's instantly totally silent, which would really be cool. But I don't know. It's just
in order to get something as quiet as what you see in the movies, you really need to know what your firearm takes and mix your bullet weight with your powder to keep it quiet enough. And really, on most of those, you're not going to cycle a semi-automatic. If you're having something quiet enough, it sounds like it's in the movies.
Yeah. The only thing I've ever seen that is as quiet as the movies, I seen a suppressed Ruger 1022 that was running subsonic ammunition, and quite literally the loudest thing was the bolt.
Oh, I can get my unsilenced 1022 to sound that quiet. It's just the ammo choice.
Sure.
Well, I've always heard that the reason that they came under NFA was they wanted to discourage poaching during the Great Depression. That may be, a myth, but it might be the truth too.
Yeah, but the Great Depression's been over for what?
A long while.
80 years?
70, 80. Yeah. Well, I don't know when it officially ended, but I know it was in the 30s, so, we're looking at 80 years, yeah. Then our next story, can you shoot as well as a retired police officer? The Los Angeles Police Department instituted a qualification course so they could grant concealed carry licenses to retiring officers. The course is fired at a man-sized B-27 target at a distance of 7 yards. Now get this, there's no time limit to shoot the 10-round qualification. All rounds impacting anywhere on the body and head will receive a full value, and rounds impacting upon arms are half value. A score of 70% is required to pass. I think I could pull that off in about 8 seconds.
Most of us could probably pull it off just by using good technique with our eyes closed.
Probably.
Just point me in the right direction and then let me go.
In my experience, even most new shooters can pull that off on their first time shooting a gun.
Sure, 7 yards, 21 feet, yeah.
Yeah. Dumbing it down. What can I say?
Absolutely. Well, you got the next story, John.
Well, New Jersey Assemblyman Ron Dancer introduced a bill to bring some relief to gun owners traveling through New Jersey. Quote, The sentences are mandatory. There's no discretion with the judge or the court. No discretion, mandatory prison term. It is unreasonable for anyone to be expected to be aware of all the nuances of every gun law in every state. Dancer's bill would give judges the option of not sending someone like Shaneen Allen to prison if the person from out of state is caught with a gun in New Jersey. That's good news.
Amen.
And I hate to say it, I don't think it'll pass.
I don't think so either, but man, is that a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
You know, these what do they call zero tolerance policies, whether it be for in New Jersey like this, or the supposed zero tolerance policies in schools. All it is laziness for administrators and judges.
Zero thinking.
Yeah. We got excuse me, I'm sorry. We got one more story. In Arizona, the police need a reason to frisk and search for firearms during a routine contact with a citizen. The Arizona Supreme Court ruled the police cannot frisk a citizen unless they think the person is engaging in criminal behavior and is armed and dangerous. The High Court wrote that police interactions with members of the public are inherently fluid, and what begins as a consensual encounter can evolve into a seizure that prompts Fourth Amendment scrutiny. A reasonable person would not have felt free to disregard and the command to be frisked from a law enforcement officer. The officers must reasonably suspect both that criminal activity is afoot, and the suspect is armed and dangerous. Well, any kind of decision that bolsters the Fourth Amendment. Oh man, we need that these days.
Absolutely. You know, you think about it, Arizona really does believe in constitutional rights. There's this case, plus they have constitutional carry.
Yeah. It is absolutely. Well, as Ken from Arizona writes in quite a bit often and says, Ken from the free state of Arizona. Yes, they are.
Yep.
All right, well, Matt, you want to take our gun quote?
Sure. God grants liberty to those who love it, and is always ready to guard and defend it. This is by Daniel Webster.
I like that one. Well, hang on, everybody. We'll be right back with our interview segment right after this. I really want to take the first one. We can divide up the rest of them, however, but I really want that first DGU. And I really have to go run use the restroom before we get into them. So I'll be right back. Okay, are we ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. Coming back in 5. Hey, and welcome back. This is our DGU segment. First one we have tonight, Davian Smith is familiar with violent crime. He had a lengthy arrest record. The 14-year-old Davian Smith was already a convicted felon with 2 convictions for armed robbery, a conviction for battery on a public or school employee, and a conviction for domestic burglary. Smith and 2 others were taunting Burgess Canteen after Canteen accused them of robbing his apartment in Lakeland, Florida. The argument escalated and Smith drew a handgun. Smith is not allowed to have a handgun because of his age. Smith is also not allowed to have any firearm because of his prior criminal convictions. Mr. Canteen was hit twice and then returned fire. The teen was pronounced dead at 8:25 p.m. at Lakeland Regional Medical Center. One thing I want to bring up about this one is this guy was hit, I believe, in the arm twice. If you're hit, it does not mean the fight's over. This guy was able to successfully defend himself after being hit at least twice. So please, people, keep that in mind.
And you said he was 14. Davian Smith was 14 years old?
Yep. The attacker was 14 years old, yeah.
Wow.
And
he was already a convicted felon.
Yeah. His first felony conviction when I was reading up on this one was at age 12. So.
Well, that goes to show the problem with juvenile leniency.
Yeah.
All right. The Wayne County, North Carolina Sheriff's Office says a woman will not face charges after shooting an alleged burglar at her home early Thursday morning. It happened around 4:30 a.m. on the Providence Church Road in Goldsboro. Deputies say the 28-year-old Paige Ham heard a noise at the back of her home and saw a lock was missing from a storage building out in the backyard. Ham had a roommate call 911 and went out with a gun to see if anything was stolen. That's when 28-year-old Christopher Todd Rogan allegedly rushed out of the building towards her. Ham fired her gun, hitting Rogan. He was last reported in stable condition at the Vidant Hospital in Greensville.
Okay, well, I don't know. This one, it's this. How do I put this? Just going over this again. She heard a noise at the back of her house, and then she saw a lock was missing. Then she went out with it. Something doesn't add up. 4:30 in the morning. The sun's not up. I don't care where you live.
What if there's a street light that shines off it?
Or she had area lights. I mean,
yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
But still,
Yeah.
if you hear something, let the cops.
Yeah, unless they're coming into you where you're at. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going with that. So.
And I would say that our next story also has some things that we might want to think about. Kayla Walker of Enigma, Georgia, has a message for people who are the victims of a home invasion. Fight back with everything you have. In her case, it was a hammer, a shotgun, and her hands. Tuesday afternoon, 2 men forced their way into her new home where she resided with her 10-month-old son. After one man knocked her to the floor and then straddled her, shouting racial slurs, she headbutted him, grabbed him in the privates, and then choked him semi-unconscious. He revived after she pushed him off of her and started fighting her again. That's when she hit him several times with a nearby hammer and popped him upside the head and the ribs. She then ran, grabbed her son, and retrieved her shotgun. Quote, he said, "This is my new house. I'm here to stay. I said, "Not at this residence." I put the gun to his face, and the gun clicked, and he ran, she said. Walker told deputies that she had tried to shoot the intruders, but there was no shell in the chamber of the shotgun. She reported that the man ran away through the woods, leaving a trail of blood behind him. While she had a number of bruises from the incident, she nor her son suffered any serious injuries. She has since ID'd one of the men involved in a police lineup.
Keep a round in the chamber. And if you don't, train that you don't have one in the chamber.
Yeah. Keep one in the chamber, and when you hear somebody breaking in, I would say, especially if you have a young child like that, retreat to a safe spot, and then make your stand where you're barricaded.
Mm-hmm.
With the chamber, with a round loaded in the chamber. Fortunately, she was right though. She fought back. She said, in the story, she also went on to say, and she was not old. She's like 19.
No.
If there were younger women, they might not have fought back, but she said, fight back. And she sounds like she didn't look like was an MMA wrestler or anything. She just looked like an ordinary person, and she wasn't backing down, and she probably saved herself because of that, and her son.
Yes, absolutely. I would just like to, is it necessary? I'll tell you this: all the firearms that are planned for use in my home for defense have a round in the chamber. Is it necessary? No. If you can not have one in the chamber if you choose to, but train that way. Know that when you grab it, you need to put one in the chamber. It's going to be much faster if you don't have to, and it's going to be the fastest if you have it on your body, but it's kind of hard to keep a shotgun on your body.
Yeah.
You see, I'm the other way, Paul. Every gun in my house, I always keep an empty chamber for safety. And I always practice with trying to load it and get around in the chamber.
Do you carry a loaded handgun on you?
No, I normally don't. But I have about a dozen and a half stashed around the house.
I would say your plan would work for you if you carried a loaded handgun on you. But I don't know.
I saw a training video from, it's called the Israeli method, and they were carrying what looked to be Browning high powers without a round in the chamber, and it was how to draw and rack the slide, or draw, rack the slide, do some forward somersault, and come up shooting, and it'd be much easier, much more effective. Have that round in the chamber.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, if I carry it, it's always with one in the chamber. But if I'm going to leave a gun sitting around my house, it's always going to have an empty chamber but a loaded magazine.
No, I can understand, but I understand that, and I agree with that. Okay, if you're not in direct physical control, all I'm saying is when you're in your house, carry one and have a round in the chamber of the one you carry.
Now I'm going to ask this, and I do realize that you and I, as friends, can occasionally get into some pretty heated go-rounds, and this could be one of them. Other than you, do you know anybody else that carries in their own house?
Yes, several.
Okay. You may argue this point. I'm going to guess 99.9999.
You're off by about 50%.
You think 50% of the legal handgun owners in the United States carry a weapon on them when they are in their own house?
I think it's closer to, probably about 30 to 40.
Really?
Yes. I carried before I had a concealed carry permit to carry. I carried concealed in my house. I carry from sunup to sundown, and when it's not carried, it's because I'm in bed and it's right beside me, and no, it's not in the safe.
And you would argue that 30 to 40% of the handgun owners in the United States carry on them inside their own house?
I can name off the top of my head. I'm not going to do it on the air because I will not.
You should.
I will not injure them like that, but I can name off the top of my head 5 or 6 right now of my friends that do.
All right. Well, as fond as you are of statistics, which you regularly bring to the show, I would have to say I would have to see some kind of a detailed official survey before I would believe that, because out of every handgun owner I know, every single one of them, I know of not a one. John, do you carry when you're in your house?
No.
There you go. I don't know of a single one other than I now know one because I now know you. But I don't know anybody else who carries in their house.
And part of the reason is that most of the places I go for work, I'm not allowed to carry. So usually, I mean, it's not like I'm coming home, taking off my suit, and unholstering my pistol.
No?
I don't know. But anyway.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I'd like to mention we do have links to each of our news and defensive gun use articles at PoliteSocietyPodcast.com if you want to share them with a friend. We've got email segment coming up next. Everybody hang on right back right after this.
When we come back to the email segment, I have a suggestion to make that might be kind of fun.
Okay.
Having to do with the emails. Let's invite them.
We do. There's a show.
Let's invite them on this topic. Be interesting to know how many of our listeners out there send us an email.
Okay.
Everybody try to send us an email. Let us know if you do or don't carry in your own home.
Okay.
That'd be interesting to know.
See, what I'm thinking the difference is, most firearm advocates would carry in the home, but that's not all firearm owners. I'd say majority of firearms owners, at least of the ones I know, don't carry in their home. They might keep one within 10 feet of their person, like myself, but I don't always have one on a belt on my hip.
No, my loaded pistol when I come home is probably within about 10 feet of me, but I do take it off when I come home. Take it off my hip.
I take it off when I go to bed.
Wow.
Rather than
You're
doing
the only
email,
person honestly I ever met. What?
rather than doing email, put it in the Polite Society Facebook page.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Kind of
That'd be
like
good, yeah.
the Canadians did. Do you want a semi-auto, different semi-autos or not? Yes or no?
Okay. Yeah, I'll post that here before I shut down and pack up.
It would be interesting to know. You know, what do you get, 10 to 12,000 downloads?
Yeah.
Say if we
Per
could
month.
get 1% of that would be, 100, let's say?
I doubt we'll get that.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, it'd
We'll
be
try.
interesting if we could get 100 to see what the stats would be on that.
I'd say Facebook we're going to get a lot more than email. All right, let's go ahead and go to email. And we've just got the one. And then we just pretty much...
And we're done.
Yeah, I'm not going to say anything about. I have no blog post.
Okay. All right, here we go. Coming back in 5. Hey, and welcome back. This is our email segment. We've only got one email this week that we were going to bring up on the air. We do have several people that send us links to stories, and we do appreciate that. And please keep doing that because it makes sure that the important stories that we need to see, we do see. It's good to have our listeners have our back on that. But Brandon Combs, who you heard on the midweek show, sent us a link to his Buzzword Bingo game. We put the link to that in the show notes, and I think that's just hilarious. If you were to follow any of these gun control groups and follow them on Facebook or Twitter, you could fill this thing out in a heartbeat.
Yep. Reasonable regulations, common sense, common gun sense restrictions. Anytime
Gun
I hear
show
the word
loophole. Yeah.
cop killer bullets, yeah.
Ghost gun's in there. I love that. Ghost gun. All right.
The Brady campaign to charge you with gun deaths 30 years after the fact.
Oh, yeah. We should have brought that up in the news, too. A guy lives 30 years after getting shot, and then his death is classified a murder when he dies in his 70s. Huh? Yeah.
He got shot before I was ever born.
Yeah.
That is far beyond any statute of limitations.
No.
That statute of limitations doesn't apply.
No, there's no statute of limitations on murder. No.
Now, my wife, who is a registered nurse, just shook her head when she heard that. She's like, "Oh, please, give me a break." He's in his 70s.
Yeah. So, well, I would like to encourage people, and if you heard the little discussion about carrying, we'd like to hear from you, and I'll put a post up on Facebook here in a little bit. We'd like to hear from you. Email us or go over to Facebook and comment. I carry 24/7. Well, I shouldn't say that. I carry 16 hours a day. The 8 hours I'm not sleeping. Well, sometimes it's 8 hours, most not quite that. But if I'm up, I'm carrying. We just kind of want you to chime in on that as well. Do you not carry when you're at home? And I personally would encourage everybody to, if you're awake, carry. You never know when trouble's going to hit you. So, well, that does wrap up another episode of the Polite Society Podcast. Until the midweek show,
Stay safe.
Be aware.
And we'll see you down the road.
awesome.
And the advertising, all that kind of stuff's already in the line, right?
Yeah, I do want to, for our live viewers, I want to mention our advertisers, ABN, Concealment Solutions, Crusader Weaponry, New Jersey Second Amendment Society, and Firearms Safety Institute. Yeah, for the ads, they all run in. I put them in when we mix.
Okay. We want to do the gift card ad though. I could be sure. Do we have that in there already?
Unless you want to change it up.
No, I don't want to change it. Do we have it in there already?
Yeah.
$30 for 25.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I've been running on the last several shows.
Wonderful, wonderful. You're so sweet to me.
Do you have an ad for your training class coming up?
Yes.
Oh,
we got to
not been paying attention.
We got to put that in next week too. We're going to have October 18th and January 31st back here for Responsibly Armed.
Okay. All right. Anything we need to talk about? Let me take us off live. Thank you, live viewers. Come join us next Saturday night. We're only going to be doing the weekend shows live now. So, but live viewers, come join us again next Saturday night, or come down and join us in person at ABN Army Surplus in Sioux Falls.